Hello, this is James from illogics.com, and what I'm about to show you is a project I've been working on for the forum. It is a emulator, Qemu, running the SmartQ5 OS. The reason why I did this was because what I found myself doing often was installing applications from the repository and finding that for one reason or another the application had a problem with my device. So after a period of time I found it was easier just to format the device. So to prevent me from having a problem with my flash over a period of time, what I did was I ported the operating system out to an image file that I can open with Qemu. So here I go. I've done it for both Linux and for Windows. The information about this is located on the forum. Here is the Windows version. What I did was I created a batch file to run the image file that I made, which is SQ5 test. Here's the emulator running. What will happen is that the Qemu can emulate most of the I/O except for the general purpose I/O and touchscreen interface. These things aren't really needed given that Qemu will provide you with or access via your PC, mouse, keyboard, and network interface. So this is it loading right now. One of the other bugs I've noticed, and it's mainly because I haven't figured out how to resolve it yet, is the Qemu is not looking at my PC's BIOS to determine the correct time and date. So it's defaulting back to 1970. This is an issue that's easily correctable once the emulator is up. As you can see, it's still loading. Try to raise it up to where it's a little bit better view. As you can see, the X marks the mouse. Let me see if I can zoom in a little better. Okay, one of the things I did, or something to notice, is that the mouse doesn't actually take place within the emulator until you click on the emulator itself. Now you have full access to move the mouse icon within the emulator. The mouse icon is rather simplistic. Let me zoom out a little bit. It's really, because it's an X cursor is the what's used for the mouse icon. I just set it to equal to default by setting the config equal to none. This is what it allows me to have a mouse to use on the display. This is handy because the original mouse was actually invisible, was the profile used. As you can see, it's still loading. This is version 4.0 ROM. That's the background you're probably familiar with. In hopes this emulator could be used for people who don't have their device yet or haven't had time to play with theirs. But the main goal was to make an environment in which you can test programs, see how well they work, interface with, changes need to be made, such and such. I did also resize the image because the device only has 1 gig of flash available, so I resized the image to a size of a 3 gig drive. So I resized both partitions, actually all 3 partitions, both of the user accessible partitions and the swap partition. Okay, first things first. First thing to do is to correct the time. As you can see, it says Thursday 1/1/1970. I click on that. Then go to set time. Then I go to sync with server. Okay. Another thing you could probably note is the CPU usage up here. And all of the icons are the same as your device. One other thing to note is you can use pretty much all of the applications within the emulator. There is no flash device on it. You can use Qemu to mount a image file which you can access externally on, say, Windows or Linux. Let's try and pull up the start menu. As you can see, it's the same menu from the PDA. And pull up the emulator. Okay, as you can see, it's loading. CPU usage within the emulator seems to be pretty high most of the time. This is because the emulator doesn't really act as fast as the device. But I'm sure on other computers it may act a little faster. Okay, we have the terminal window up, so we're going to do a sudo space apt-get space update. Hit enter. And this is just a demonstration that's updating all the repository information. But you can install applications via this fashion or through the GNOME-apt program, which will allow you to access the repository. Or you can do it via the browser, which is done this way. So we'll click on the browser icon. As you can see, it's opening up Midori. All of the applications seem to work okay. You don't need to configure your Wi-Fi because it thinks that it has a hardwire LAN connection. And you don't need to do a touchscreen calibration. I'm not quite sure if that would even work or if it would even pull up the right screen. But the shutdown application and all that seems to work okay too. And if you do install an application or something and it doesn't work out, you can always back up your image somewhere other location and then delete the image you're working on, copy it over with the backed up image and start over. I also put the partition program on it as well. As you can see, you can use all of the buttons. Let me use the zoom out. The default resolution is set to VGA, which is 640 by 480. The reason for this is because of the device itself, or sorry, the operating system itself not having the resolution set. But anyway, this is the James from illogics.com, and this is SmartQ5 QEM emulator.